All right, it's 4 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and start the budget review. I'll turn it over to Auditor Spetnagel.
Everybody has the presentation in front of them. It is a pretty massive book. This will be online. The presentation will be online, and then once the budget is passed, we'll make sure that that gets uploaded online. But I wanted to begin to kind of talk about how the budget begins. It begins during July when we work on the tax budget. That's like our first initial start of the budget, which that is due to the county auditor in July. So that's where it kind of starts. And then in August, we start sending out notification that the budget process is starting, and we start asking department heads to start collecting their quotes, getting a feeling for what kind of projects they're going to have going on, and start gathering their information for what they need for their operating budget. Once that is done, the department heads will meet with the mayor, myself, and then they come in and they talk to council. So council has already heard a majority of this. This has been one of the toughest budgets to actually consolidate, but as far as the approval process, it should be a lot more simple because there isn't as much capital and there's not as much stuff to look at. So the budget reviews began in October, and now we are here in December, going through the final budget. When we start working at the budget, there's different types of funds that we have to consider. The general fund, which is where a majority of the revenue comes in and where a majority of the expenditures are. Special revenue funds, trust agency funds, capital project funds, debt service reserve accounts, and then the enterprise funds. So I have a little description of what those are in the packet. I'm not going to read that to you. You can take a look at those. We kind of touch base on those every time I do a presentation. The revenue projections this year were a little bit more difficult to project because of several things. As you know, we've lost Pixel, but then we do have another corporation coming in, and then we lost a little bit of revenue through income tax. But our main sources of revenue and the general fund are property taxes, the income taxes, other local taxes, charges for services, fines, licenses, and permits. This year, income tax was one of the biggest things that we looked at. Last year, we projected 19.7 million. This current year budget will project 17.9. Just to kind of touch on how we calculated what that amount would be. We took this year's expected revenue, which we are up this year so far, and there's been several things that we've been taking a look at to see why we're up so much. But when we did this projection, we did only base it on our initial projections for the years. It does not include anything additional. But we took out how much we expected to lose from Pixel, added a little bit back in for the new glove company, subtracted out the streets. We always have about a 1% increase, so we did increase the total overall by 1%, and that's what gave us the new projection of 16.7 overall. Last year's projected revenue was 27 million. This year, I've dropped it down to 26.4 million. There's several things that help with our revenue this upcoming year. We have a lot of grant revenue built into this budget. We have a lot of administrative costs that will be recouped. I will talk about that here in a little bit. We have some increases in EMS fees has went up quite a bit. Not the fees, but the revenue from EMS. We increased the recycling from $1.75 to $4, so we're seeing an increase there. Refuse went up $17, and then with the new building department, that's also going to bring in some additional revenue. So even though we've had a little bit of loss of revenue resources, we've got some additional things coming in as well. As you know, income tax was 2%. As I just talked about, that has dropped down to 1.8%. That's not really an effect on any of the funds other than the street levy. We will not have a street levy anymore. So therefore, our streets improvements will, we still have some money in reserves to do some work. We'll talk about that in a second. But for the majority, that's where that decrease in income tax is going to hit the most. because that street levy did bring in almost $2 million a year. One thing to note too about that street levy, when we lost that street levy, we didn't just really lose 2 million, we lost all of our matching money. So if we don't have that money to do the matching, then we can't get the OPWC grants. We can't get, because if we get an OPWC grant, a lot of times that requires matching money. We're not going to have the matching money. So we could possibly lose out on a lot of grant opportunities as well. Transfers is something that takes a lot of time to configure in the budget. The general fund supports a lot of the other funds. So even though some of the other funds do have their own revenue sources, sometimes those revenue sources aren't enough to truly support the funds. Some of the funds have income tax that they do get, and then some of them have services that brings in revenue. But the general fund does transfer funds to help support the flood wall, the landfill, streetscape, traffic control, income tax refunds, and then stormwater. And then they may actually help other funds if they get into any cash flow issues. So when we do the budget, we look at all those funds that survive by the transfer of the general fund and determine if we do have enough money to support some of the projects within those funds. Grant money, like I said, is huge in this budget. The one thing that I did not incorporate in this budget, and we will either do an ordinance first thing of the year to put the ACGP money in there. I didn't want to put that in there quite yet because 34 million is a lot of money, and I think that makes the budget look a little bit weird. But I also don't want to carry that forward on a PO because we don't have the revenue to support that expense, so we can't technically do that. So that ACGP money will be added. We can't carry over cash, so it will be added as in an ordinance in the beginning of January. The other grants that we've got included in here are CDS grants. We have 2 of those grants included in here. Those are in the HUD fund, and that is for the splash pad, which is $1 million grant. And then $135,000 of that grant will be reimbursed back to the city. So you will see that $135,000 going back into the general fund to cover administration fees. The second CDS grant we have is for transitional housing, and that is $1.7 million with $225,000 going back into the general fund for administration. So when I say that we've lost some revenue streams, we did build some to kind of help offset some of the cost of managing some of these grants. Another grant that we have are CDBG grants. Those are smaller grants, so those are not included on here. And then one of the grants that you're going to see is a tree commission grant. I have added that to the general fund. It's an added department in the general fund. You're going to see an expense for 150. The grant is a total of 300,000, but you're also going to see an expense to offset that revenue. The arborist will be about 50,000, and then tree commission projects this year will be 100,000. So that's another grant that's been included. OPWC is a street construction grant that we have. OPWC is its own fund, but we do have a match that we have to pay towards that 417, and that's been included in the street construction fund. So lots of grant money coming in. Lots of smaller grants that aren't even included on here. We have So Fast grant. We have a body armor grant. We have a lot of smaller grants that we did not include in this overall presentation, but we've been doing a really good job of getting some grant matching. ARPA funding, I just want to touch base on that. That's something that is not included in the budget, but it will be a carry forward because those are already encumbered on POs, so that will increase next year's budget. We've already received that revenue, but we've already included the expenses in 2025. That grant was originally 2.1. The sidewalk program was 300. We're down to 51 left on that. The home repair, basic skills, and homeless assistance. That money is still there. That is encumbered on a PO to the land bank. That will be used to, the land bank is they're working on a program to help assist people in those 3 areas. The Marks radios have already been paid for in full. The stormwater has already been paid for in full. And then the remaining balance of that is for the Parks and Rec, and that will be used to help offset the our match for the project in the park. Capital assets is where we made a lot of cuts. Those cuts are not cuts that we made with the intention of never completing projects. Some of the cuts were made until we could get more detail or until we knew exactly where we were going to land with income tax or different funding sources. So, for example, one of the cuts we made, if you want to look at, if we want to jump ahead, the second tab is a draft ordinance, and then the tab after that is the capital exhibit. So that right there will show you everything that's added capital wise, a brief summary there for you. One thing we did add in the capital was the tree commission. You've got $100,000 in the general fund for tree commission projects. And then one of the main things that changed was we had $1 million in there for the splash pad that was taken out and then moved into the HUD fund. So when you're looking at general fund from what was presented before to what you have now, the main thing is just the movement of that fixed asset. Municipal court, we didn't change any of their items, their computers or the building stuff. Street construction, you can see we have street improvements included of $227,000. That does include the match for the OPWC project that we have next year, and then we'll have a little left over to do some street and sidewalk maintenance. And then we should have a little bit more carried forward that if we have projects pop up next year that we'd be able to appropriate. Let's see. If you look down at HUD, you will see that's where the splash pad, the transitional housing project, and the grant for the CDBG is for next year. That was new. That was either moved to that location or grants that weren't included during the presentations. Traffic control, we did eliminate the control panels, or they're not called control panels. They are the control boxes. We still had 2 control boxes that weren't purchased this year, so we took out the 2 that they wanted next year until we purchased these 2 that are currently in the budget. And then if we decide next year that we need 2 more, then we can come back to council and ask for that rather than appropriating a bunch of money. Spend what we have first, finish up those projects, and then determine if those 2 boxes were truly needed. There were no changes made to the transit budget. A lot of their stuff is matching for their ODOT purchases. Stormwater are projects that will be really helpful and can be included in with street projects. So that is its own fund. So appropriating that money isn't going to affect any fund. It's just money sitting in stormwater to be used for stormwater. So no specific projects there, but it will be ready to use. Transit reserve, no change there. OPWC, that is street work that will be done on Carlisle, 6th Street, and Main Street. So those are projects that are already in the works, and that money will be appropriated to use there. Let's see. Safety levy capital, nothing, there was no capital taken out of police or fire. Landfill was left the same. Parks and Rec has really been struggling, and the problem with Parks and Rec is they've had a lot of grant money to where they have to spend money before they receive grants. So that department, we had them cut their budget temporarily until we start receiving in some of the grant money. They're owed $250,000 for the Armory grant, and they have, I think, 2 other grants that could be bringing in some funds. So they did cut their budget, and then we will reevaluate and see if we need additional funds to do some work in the Parks Department. But there's so much going on with parks, especially with the project going on in the park, that this was a good year to be able to make those cuts to get everything caught up. Water and sewer is where we made a majority of the cuts, and we did that because we have a lot of projects going on, especially in the sewer department. The sewer plant remodel should be done, and we will start making debt payments. I think it's in 2027. So we wanted to make sure we had a good reserve balance. But my concern with those departments was, without having a utility director, we thought it was best to take out some of the projects, have the new utility director come in and kind of reevaluate the projects, come up with his own plan, and then we can revisit those. We're not saying that we're not going to do those projects, but they're just projects that we're going to get more planning on before we appropriate the money. So next year we will be coming back and asking to recoup some of these projects. The money is available, but we just wanted to have better plans on some of them. And then you'll see down the last page of capital, I included the ODD grant, the OWDA loan, and the CDS grant. Those are what really boost our capital. We really don't spend $22 million in capital every year. But this year we do have the OWDA. That should be completed with, I think there's 11 million left there to spend next year. ODD is 2.9, and that's to be used on the sewer plant. And then CDS grant has another 646,000 left there to spend. So those are the capital projects that we currently have built into this. But the intent will be to come back and ask for additional funding for some of those projects. And then going back to the slide, or the presentation, debt payments at the beginning of the year, we'll have 11.4 in debt. Principal and interest to be paid next year is $2 million. And at the end of 2026, our debt should drop to about 9.4. The only debt that we had built into this budget or considering is just for the Roundup police cruisers. And this year they asked for $240,000. So that would be a possibility of debt, but nothing else is, we don't have any other debt plans for next year. Street construction, we have street levy at $275,000. We have OPWC at $417,000. State highway, we have $100,000 appropriated. We use that state highway money to do projects on state highways, which would be like your Bridge Street, your streets in Chiillicothe that are considered highways, and then in that additional $150 that we talked about before, to do that. Unappropriated balances, that is something that at the end of the year, everyone asks me, well, what's the unappropriated balance? It's so hard to determine. And I hate the way this works because everybody encumbers all their money as soon as the budget passes. And then at the end of the year, there could be tons of money still left on POs that looks like it's going to be spent, but it may not get spent. And then it just goes back into unappropriated. So, when we look at the budget, we do try to go through all of our open projects, come up with what our unappropriated balance is, and make sure that we stay within a certain dollar amount, depending on which fund it is, to make sure that we do continue to carry on a good reserve in each one of the funds, and to make sure that we are not over appropriating money. So 2026 at a glance, projected revenue is 26.4. And then budgeted expenses is 26.4. So we have a balanced budget for the general fund. That is what we wanted to do. Even if we would come back and ask for capital projects, there wasn't very many in the capital fund that were taken out. It was really the other funds that we eliminated from, like the water and sewer that I discussed. Income tax projections are at 16.7 million. Capital projects 22.3. And then transfers from the general fund to other funds is 795, which I think in the last year was 2.3 million. That number can fluctuate based upon grant money or different projects going on in different departments. So that is a summary. Sometimes I know I talk fast. One thing to talk about as I'm looking at the next slide, original budget request versus final. Another thing that you'll see is decreases in payroll. The intent is not to lay anybody off. There's no intent to do that or to decrease any of the positions. The police department, for example, last year had the general fund, and then we had the grant money that brought in 8 people. Those have all been consolidated into the general fund now. So we are budgeting for 40 officers, but we will not hire 40 officers at the beginning of the year. It's just not a possibility. Not because the city doesn't want to, but because there's just not enough officers to do that.
So how many are we actually, are we budgeting for 40 or are we budgeting for less going into the beginning of the year?
So we're budgeting for less, but in
Okay.
my budget, I have 40. I know
Okay.
it's kind of weird to explain it.
Okay, so what are we actually budgeting for?
37.
37?
Yeah.
Okay, because that was one of my questions. And
Yeah.
then firefighters?
Yeah. The firefighters will stay the same. So theirs is,
They currently have 45 personnel, I think 34 firefighters.
yeah. There's no change in what theirs has been in the past. You're not going to see as much change in their budget as you will see in police. And police, the intent is to get, to meet the budget, but we're not going to have that. So I did decrease that.
So we're
payroll.
So we're going to budget for 37, but after the beginning of the year, evaluate, and we can bring them back up to, hopefully bring them back up to the 40.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the goal wasn't to eliminate any positions is what I'm trying to say, but we did take off some for just the timing of when people would begin.
Right. And
So,
we're not getting rid of employees. Those are positions that aren't currently
absolutely,
filled.
they're just
Okay.
vacant positions now.
Yes.
That will
Okay.
take time to fill, so that's going to decrease the budget.
Okay.
So I should have talked about that earlier. Let's see. Lastly, so with today being December the 10th, you guys can have some time to go through this. Reach out to me at any time you can ask questions now, but to ask questions. My goal would be to have the first read on December the 22nd and either hold a special meeting sometime before the end of the year. I would like to have it passed before December 31st just because the first payroll is January the 2nd. We have to pass it on the first business day of the year anyways, regardless. So I'll let you guys decide on really what you want the timeline to be. The next, it has to be after you're sworn in though. So it cannot be prior to being sworn in. So it would have to be December 31st or January the 2nd. One of those 2 days. You can determine how you want to do that. I do have the budget ordinance all ready to go. So you can see a draft of that ordinance and what that would look like. Comparing it to prior year, there's not a lot of changes. And then the law director, she will, of course, go through it, and I think she approves it the form. But I do have all the numbers and stuff prepared to go, and there is a draft of that ordinance for you. Any questions?
I still had a lot of questions on the capital items, the
Okay.
things that we discussed during the various budget review, miscellaneous repairs, miscellaneous building repairs, miscellaneous equipment.
So I think that one, I still need to do a deeper dive because I don't want to say this because I hate when people say this. This is the way we've always done it. I've talked to the auditors and they move it. It's not, so like in some of those items, they're being paid out of a capital fund, but they're not being paid as a capital item. So.
And so I understand that with the general fund, but there are three places where we have funds that are dedicated capital funds per a ballot issue, police, fire, and recreation, parks and recreation, and those funds can only be used for capital items. They cannot be used for Marks Radio fees. They can't be used for Lexipol maintenance fees. They can't be used for lake maintenance unless somebody can tell me, and I've asked, and a month later, we still don't have that answer. I've asked to have that discussion. Show me that we're doing maintenance and it's going to keep that lake good for an extended period of time and not something that we do every year. Geese removal, playground mulch. Mulch is not a capital item. We had that discussion. Equipment repair. I don't know what the equipment repair is because I've never got a response back from the administration on what that is. I've not got any additional information back on the Marietta lift station. I've not got any information back on the grinder pumps. We've been at this for almost 2 months now, and we don't have the answers that we've asked for, but we're asked to pass a budget without the information that we need to make an informed decision.
So what we can do
And that's not on you.
Thank you.
That's on the administration. So, I mean, you're sharing this information, but we're not getting the detail that we have asked for to make those informed decisions. And I am not going to, I personally will not vote for using dedicated capital funds for non-capital items. It's up to the other 8 members of council what they do, but I will not vote for that.
Okay, so the Marietta lift station, I think Clint might have a little bit of information on this. That one, we received a grant for 2.8 million. We don't know that we have the match, which was 900,000 to do that project. So that project is on hold. So that will not be in this budget until next year once we reevaluate and get, I don't know if the quote came in more. But that was one thing that we've temporarily removed from the budget. That's what I do know about that. The other items, if there are specific items that you want to pull out of here because you feel like they aren't maintenance, we can pull those out.
May I ask, is there a list, Mr. Creed, that's been presented that on those specifics that you could give to the auditor so that she can go through those? Or you say they've been presented to the administration, but I guess I'm just trying to figure out if there is a comprehensive list that she can look at and go through and get back to us as soon as she can determine how those things are being handled.
Those are things that we talked about during all the budget review sessions. We were told that we would get answers back on, and we did not get answers back on them. And those same items are still arriving on the capital budgets. So I can go back and do additional work since in 2 months, we have not got that information back from the administration. So yes, I can go back and do that. But I guess I would have assumed that in 2 months after we raised all those questions that we would have received those answers by now. And that's my frustration.
Here's what I would say. If those have not been responded to and you raised them, I would just ask you folks to go back to look, the auditor to go back, look at the, because we've been streaming all of these. So go back, take a look at them, see what the questions were, and get those back to the council persons so that they can look at it and make an informed decision. But if you could go ahead and do that, that would be really helpful so that
Okay.
we're not asking somebody to go back and do it again from here.
President Shoemaker, did I understand you right, Auditor Spetnagel? Did you say you talked with the auditors that audit the city's budget and so on, that actually do the audits each year to make sure that funds are being used properly and that they're all accounted for? Is that who you spoke with?
Yeah, so every year we get audited. Every year these funds get audited. And the ordinances can be interpreted different ways. So,
And I guess that's my question. If the state auditors
if they find that it
feel
needs to
there's
be
any
pulled-
finding, wouldn't they have written it out in their final, evaluation? They usually call to attention anything that's either inappropriate or unclear. Have they ever said that the capital assets budget is that way or not? I know that I've sat in on countless years of state audits that since I've been in public office, and they usually tell you what it is that they feel is incorrect on that. So are you telling me that the state auditors have always passed that and do not see it as being a significant problem or incorrect under the state auditors' guidelines?
Correct. We've never been asked to move any of these items to another fund. And some of them won't, like some of the items that are being paid out of capital aren't being charged to a capital line item, but they are being paid out of capital. And I think what makes it kind of tough though is because like you look at equipment repair, those repairs sometimes are being done. I mean, it's a lump sum, 17,000 there on a large piece of equipment. That repair may be $5,000 that's made to make that equipment continuously go. For me to say, I know what those equipment repairs are going to be, I'm not going to know that answer. We audit that, and when we see stuff come through, if we find that we feel like it's not a true equipment capital repair, we won't pay it. Joanna back here is like the best at like finding stuff and questioning stuff. She's like everyone's nightmare.
Well, then I guess then my point is some things might rise to that level of considering a capital asset just because of the nature of what they're doing. And sometimes maintenance could be considered a capital investment in the lake, for instance, if we are preventing problems there. I guess that's what I'm trying to get at is, could some things be perceived as capital assets that aren't apparently clear, are sort of in a gray area, that without maintenance, then that capital asset, which is valued in the city, could be determined to be that by virtue of just what it is and how it could affect that particular item. And that's what I was getting at, because I know in accounting many times that we had things come up and sometimes it wasn't clear until it was explained by a state auditor that was correct. And that's what I was getting at. And perhaps we need a little more guidance from them, and if they feel that it is or is not. I'm not sure that any of us sitting here have the knowledge to determine that over and above what the state auditors would view it as. Thank you.
So like when I'm looking at landscaping, the guidance that I give is if you're going to be making a big landscaping item, it should not be for certain items. It needs to be for stuff that is more permanent and that you're not going to take up and remove. So like if you're buying flowers for, the entrance of the park, to me, that's not landscaping. To me, landscaping is the mulch, because the mulch, you're not going to come scoop that up and take that. Well, I guess you could, but the trees are the things that actually are embedded that you cannot carry away with them. And that's the best way I can explain it to people. If it is something that's going to improve and keep something operational, then, and I'm not talking about oil changes or tires or anything like that, those all are in separate line items. Those items are not considered capital, but like for the lake maintenance, I know last year we have decreased that, but last year part of the lake maintenance, I think, was to buy a fountain, which was like $50,000. Was that correct? And that was included in lake maintenance. So maybe so lake maintenance would be like those type of items. This is something that if we need to get the budget passed, we can take out items. I'm open to that if you guys, but I just need to know quick because it like helps me get stuff done timely and accurately. And we can continue to do that, or just let me know what your guys' thoughts are.
Okay, just
and I'll continue to research with the auditor and see if I can get a better guidance for you as well.
Just a couple quick things. I got to close this meeting and move on to the committee meeting. I looked at the state auditor information. They do not have a description for what is capital or is not. So I did send out 3 different documents to the entire council describing what capital items are, and hopefully everybody had a chance to read through that and have a better understanding of what capital items actually are. If they're going to last for more than a year, if they're usually a certain dollar amount, although it doesn't have to be that. Mm-hmm. If it is something that we would put on a sheet that shows our capital items for the city that we include in our capital items, then we can use those things as well. But mulch is not something that improves the capital expenditures of the city. And those things are not permanent. Those things do not last more than a year. So those are things that I asked for answers for, and we've not gotten them. And that's my frustration. Because I'm willing to sit down and look at those things and go, okay, yeah, this lake maintenance, because we're buying a new fountain, increases, it's going to be a long-term thing. That is a capital item. To go in and put some chemicals in the lake or whatever, that is not. So we need to have those discussions, and we asked to have those discussions, but we've not had them. So with that, I'm going to close this portion of the meeting. We're going to move on to the Finance Committee meeting. And so we have 3 items that we're talking about tonight. First of those is 25-071, and that is an ordinance to establish the calendar year 2026 operating budget. And I'm in agreement with Crystal on this, is that we need to keep this moving forward. We want to have 3 reads so that we can get it passed. and have ample opportunity to go through it. So she's gone through a lot of the information on this. We've got the detail. We now have time to sit down and go through it in detail. And if we want to make changes to it as a committee, we can do that. We have time to do that. Or as a full council, once it's in front of full council, we can do line item, we can do amendments to it as well. So, but in order to get this done in the timely fashion, I think our best option going forward, and this is for myself, Ms. Dunn and Ms. Payne, is to go ahead and move this forward and then look at all the information. If we have questions, get a hold of Crystal, share your questions with all of council so that we're all kind of looking at the same things, and we keep this moving forward so that we can get it passed in a reasonable amount of time. So Kathy, what's your opinion on that?
I think we have a pretty good financial review here and a pretty good plan. I don't see anything that stands out to me. I know you have questions. However, I'm very comfortable with what we have here. I've looked it over and I've thought about it. And with my past experience and so on, I feel very comfortable with this budget, and I don't have any problem moving forward with it. Thank you.
All right. The question I would have is on the police officers. Instead of just funding 37 right now, even though if we would go back at the beginning of the year and we could fund the others, why wouldn't we just go ahead and put that in and fund that now?
Well, we don't really have the resources at the beginning of the year. It was hard to balance this budget. So if we go ahead and put that money in there, then we will not have a balanced budget. We'd have to make cuts elsewhere. I did that because I know we will not use all that police money. We just won't. If we have 40, we're not going to have 40 police officers at the beginning of the year. We probably would never have 40 police officers. Right now we've got, I think, 33. And it's not due to lack of hiring police officers. It's due to finding them and getting them. So, we can do that and make cuts elsewhere. But realistically, we're not going to spend that money in payroll.
I actually disagree with that also. I feel like cutting safety services is a big issue. And I think the way things are now, that safety, police and fire are both very important. And, we're not doing cuts to fire. I don't think it should be done to police either. I don't think we should take
don't be misled. We are not making cuts.
I understand, but I'm
Okay.
just saying, I don't think that we should not have the 40 positions budgeted, because I think part of the problem is the process of the hiring is taking so long. And I think that is also an issue.
Okay.
So I think there's other issues besides not finding police officers. Every police agency is hiring.
Okay.
But I think cutting, not cutting, but just not allowing to have those 40 positions, even though they're never going to be filled. So you say, but they could be.
Yeah, they could be.
And
And,
then
if
things-
they could be, we can go back in appropriate, because we have the money
Right.
in reserves. Don't
Right.
get me wrong. We have
But-
the money to do that.
So I
And that's
just
the
want
rule.
it voiced that
Yeah.
I disagree with that as well. So.
By no means, do not be misled. We are not trying to cut police at all. It would be coming back, and if we would get those, then we would just appropriate the money from our reserve. We do have the money in reserves to do that. Just keeping a balanced budget is why I decrease that. If you don't like that, we can do that and take away from something else and come back and appropriate.
That makes me feel better knowing that we have it in reserve.
Yes, the money is
And
in
if we
reserves. I
hire
should have made
40
that more clear. We would just come back and appropriate it if we needed to at that time. And I will tell you, we did not put any seasonal in this budget as well. The only seasonal in this budget is for the swimming pool.
So let me clarify. So right now, the money is not in the budget for 40 police officers. There is money in there for 37.
Mm-hmm.
First of the year, we can go back and dip into the carry forward funds
If we would need
and
to, absolutely.
increase the budget by that amount to raise that number to 40.
Yes, we have the money sitting in
Could
unappropriated.
we do that? Could we do that same thing with other areas of the budget?
Yeah, we could do that.
Okay, because what I'm hearing is that there is concern with the safety services.
Okay.
And that in order to keep this moving forward, that we need to cut money out of other areas and come back first year and do that adjustment
Do
versus.
you want to tell me
doing it-
where you want to make the cuts from? Because I've made cuts from everywhere I possibly can without, I mean, police and fire are our biggest expenditures.
Right.
If you tell me
absolutely.
where else to make cuts from, we can do that. This
Did
is
you
just an easier way to be able to come back and appropriate the money and have it there. This is just getting up to a balanced budget. We can appropriate the money as we need, as if we get to, you know, the 38th person, we appropriate for that 38th person. And we can appropriate based upon what time of the year they start. That's more my concept, but I'm willing to do whatever
Crystal,
you get.
How many do we have now? Did I understand there's 33?
Mhm.
So we already have 4 more that are budgeted in this budget.
Yeah,
we can do the math.
yeah.
Crystal, one other question. You just said we don't have anything appropriated for seasonal help.
Mhm.
Is that your plan also to go back in and
Yes,
take it
we'll
out of the reserve?
evaluate and see where we stand, and then we can come back in and ask for that additional funding. I'm not saying we're not going to do seasonal, but we'll just reevaluate at that time.
Okay.
You know, see what unappropriated. That I think that actually works better because then we can hire based upon not only needs but by finances rather than just dumping money in there and saying this is what you have.
Thank you.
So what do we want to do as a committee moving forward? I know you're pretty comfortable with where we're at and with the option that Crystal was giving, I think, is what I'm hearing.
Yes, I am, and I'm also, one of the things that she said that I know is quite common. You know, it takes a while. Sometime in January, you'll see a lot of POs that get canceled because that's the way it works, and there'll be an influx of money there. I don't know that there's going to be a huge amount. Crystal would probably have a better idea of what usually happens when those POs from the previous year get terminated and you have to come back and create new POs for. I know that, you know, sometimes with maintenance and so on, you either have a shortage or you didn't spend it all. Do you have any idea what that would end up being, Auditor Spetnagel?
We will know more at the end of this week. Today was the day to turn in and have all their PO carry forwards, and then everything will be closed. So we'll know
Okay,
more
that's
at
what
that
I was
point.
thinking. There'll be a different dollar amount that we have to begin with. So, yeah, I'm very comfortable with the budget the way it stands. And I feel certain that this body, if we are lucky enough to be able to find 40 qualified officers, will be more than willing to bring forth legislation and hire those officers because we do need them. So that's my opinion. Thank you.
And obviously, I still have issues about the capital expenditures, especially in the safety capital, because I don't like us using safety capital money that we need for capital equipment for the police department and fire department for general fund items. So those are issues that I still have. And then, as Kathy has brought up and Julie as well, you know, issues as far as fully funding the police and fire departments, or at least the police department in this issue. I'm wondering if we as a group of our committee, would you guys be willing to meet next Monday? Give us a few days to work with the administration, try to see as much of this as we can get answered.
Mr. Creed, I was going to recommend that we do something like that.
And that way we can keep it moving as quickly as we can, which is our goal. But make sure, I think, because we still have some answers. I still have answers I need. You have other answers that you need. So I think we need a little bit of time to maybe just kind of work through
What's
it.
that date again?
Monday,
That would be the
December
15th. Monday the 15th.
the 15th. That's what I was thinking. I wanted to make sure I had it right. No, I have no problem meeting then. I can be here.
want to be around 5?
That's fine with me.
Okay, I'll do an announcement at committee meeting for this item. Because we could sit here and talk about it, but obviously there's still a lot of questions that we have. So this one I'm gonna wait on. We won't do a vote on this one. We'll keep this going, and we'll come back on Monday at 5 o'clock, like I said, and I'll do an announcement on that.
Mr. Creed,
Yes.
I have a board meeting at 5
Okay.
o'clock on
Well, we can do it
Monday.
later.
Can we,
6?
or 4? Is it
It's
4 or 6?
I'm open to any time.
4's fine for me.
That works.
And that'll be an hour for us just to work through all the issues and make sure that we hopefully come to an agreement.
You
you
should
say
have
4?
the capital
Yeah, I can do
items
4. I can't do 6, but I can do 4.
answered by then.
4? Okay,
Yeah.
so it'll be 4 o'clock.
Would you say
4
you can
o'clock
do-
Monday
I
the
can do 4.
15th for our next Finance Committee meeting, correct?
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. Next item, 25-088. This is adoption of the street levy resolution for the ballot. So that was sent out here just recently. As everybody knows, our street levy will expire at the end of this year. So this is a new street levy ballot. The city administration has asked for the same amount, 0.2%, or did I say that right? 0.2%? Yes. I think I said that right, didn't I?
I think you did, but
Yeah, 0.2%, yes. Make sure I'm saying that correctly. This is an item that we talked about last year, did not get on the May ballot. We did pass it. It did not make it onto the November ballot. So as a group, other than some of our newer members, we as a group kind of were in agreement that the 0.2% was a adequate number and that a 10-year was kind of the way to go with it. I would still like to have a review meeting on that, maybe prior to the December 22nd meeting. Clint's over there nodding his head, yeah. To kind of get more detail on it. But again, this is an item we've talked about before, but I want all the members who were not part of that discussion to kind of hear the whole thing, the whole justification, because it is a big deal when we're asking our taxpayers to, give us money and how we're going to use it. So with this one again, because I want to get 3 reads in, and I want to do it before, I guess, the 4th of January, if possible, so that we don't have to put emergency language on it. So I would like to move this forward with the knowledge that we will have a review session on this item. Any comments from Ms. Payne or Ms. Dunn?
I think it's very important that we look into this as soon as possible, and that we make sure that we make the primary ballot for it next year. So whatever timeline that we need to have to do that, I think we need to move forward with it as quickly as possible to make sure that we can do that.
I'm in agreement as well.
Okay, so I'll make the motion that we move this legislation forward to the Law Director's Office requesting a 0.2% income tax increase for 10 years, as stated, which would be on the May ballot and would go into effect in 2027. Do I have a second? Kathy Payne,
That
second.
it would not go into effect until 2027?
Correct, yes. If we pass one during next year, it does not go into effect till the following year.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that.
Yes. I am voting yes.
Yes.
All right.
Councilman Creed, when would you like to have the review session? Because I can go ahead and call it myself if you tell me when you want it.
I would say before the December 22nd meeting at 6 o'clock. Would that work? It would be plenty of time. It may be overkill, but I want to make sure that if there's any new information that all of council gets that, and if there's any information that new council members want, that they're able to go through that information and make sure that they feel like they're making an informed decision.
I agree. I would like to make sure that we do put it on our listserv, though, all these different dates, and not just, write it down here. I think we need to make sure that we get all that out there.
I'll be sending out a notice on that review meeting for December 22nd at 6 p.m. before
Yes,
our,
but
our next council meeting, just so everybody knows that I'll go ahead. The rule allows for 3 council members to do it, or the council president. It's much easier if I just send something out, so I'll send it
Okay.
out.
I just want to make sure we also do the December 15th, 4 p.m. meeting. I want to make sure it goes out.
Yep.
Yeah,
Good
I know
deal.
you're pretty good about that,
Yep.
so. All right, thank you.
Okay, I got one more thing. 25-090, that's salary reappropriation. Oh. And this is end of the year appropriations, and Auditor Spetnagel brought updated numbers for that, so I'll let Crystal talk about that real quick.
So the main change will be in the fire pension. I had originally asked for 110,000. We need to increase that to 150. Payroll did another calculation, and they actually had a lot of payouts, longevity, and rollovers. Huh? Oh, okay. Well, instead of 110, it'll be 150 on there, and I'll send out the new one.
That's on the second page, second item down.
Yes. Yeah. So that is a transfer from the general fund. So you're going to see general fund transfer of 150 to the general fund pension, and then from the general fund pension into the fire pension, and then the pension gets paid from that fire pension fund. That's why you're seeing it on there so many times. It's technically only 150. That'll be paid out.
I understand that because you don't really know until the end of the year when people do retire. They do get
Everybody
longevity
does.
and they get sick leave and vacation that's been unpaid, especially in the safety and service department, sometimes that you just can't anticipate. So
Then at the end of the year, they also get all their paramedic pay, their EMS, like they get a lot of license pays, and then just the rollovers that happen at the end of the year. It gets really crazy. So as much as we try to plan that, it's a difficult thing to plan.
Okay, so basically we're 30,000 for Parks and Rec
Yep.
from general fund, and 150 from general fund to fire pension. So I make a motion to approve this request for legislation
I second.
as written by Auditor Spetnagel and updated. Second
I
by Ms.
second.
Dunn. I vote yes,
Yes.
Yes.
and that concludes Finance Committee. Thank you.
One thing to note, not on this committee meeting, but you see how we've had to ask for Parks and Rec money twice. If we wouldn't be able to do those we'd have to like really review Parks and Rec capital and determine like the change in revenue, because all those projects will be gone, because none of those projects can be supported out of the Parks and Rec fund. I mean, we've already transferred money twice.
Right, yeah. So I think there's, I guess we're still talking, but so I think there's a way to do that is leave it in unappropriated, and then if there are capital repairs, that they come and ask for those things.
Yeah.
But we can continue to have those discussions. I just
Yeah.
don't want to see, I don't want us to be on the hook allowing things to be done that I don't
Well,
think
we
are
really,
appropriate.
I mean,
I know.
No, it's already in the legislation.
a second?
Yes, sir.
I did not. Right there.
That is probably one of the simulated phishing emails. Do you care if I look at it real quick?
Right ahead.
Yep, that's one of the simulated ones. So you can just delete that and ignore it. You're welcome. Need anything else?
That's it.
All right.
Yeah, I need to fill out. Yeah, thanks. I would need to. I appreciate it. Yeah, so I'm doing that. Low traffic road. And then we together.
I think I want to sit in there. A lot cooler. It's hot in here. What time is it anyway? What time is it, Kevin? I have 3 minutes to go to the restroom. I won't start with that.
Well, it's 5 o'clock. We are waiting. Ms. Dunn will be here momentarily, and we'll go ahead and begin. But I do want to welcome everybody. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, council members, city officials. Welcome to the December 10, 2025 rescheduled regular city council meeting. We are meeting at 26 South Paint Street, Chiillicothe, Ohio. And in just a few moments, we'll call the roll and we'll get started. At this time, I would ask the clerk to call the attendance roll.
Bennett,
Present.
Payne,
Here.
McQuirt,
Here.
Barnes,
Here.
McKeever,
Here.
Dement,
Yes.
Preston,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Creed.
Here.
I would now ask Ms. Bennett to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. The minutes from the prior regular meeting have been distributed. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections? Hearing none, I would ask for a motion to approve. Motion by Ms. Dunn, second by Mr. McQuirt, and the clerk will call the roll.
Bennett,
Yes.
Payne,
Yes.
McQuirt,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
McKeever,
Yes.
Dement,
Yes.
Preston,
Yes.
excuse me, Dunn,
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
Minutes are approved. We'll move to reports of committees. Development Committee, Mr. Dement.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. Development has 2 items on tonight's agenda. Item number 2, which is the second reading of an ordinance amending section 353.02 of the codified ordinances of the city of Chiillicothe, Ohio, regarding metered and unmetered parking zones, municipal parking lots, enforcement hours, installation of meters, and allocation of parking spaces for law enforcement, with implementation contingent upon budget availability. And then we also have item number 4, which is the first reading of an ordinance establishing a maximum of 14 10-minute parking spaces in downtown Chiillicothe, authorizing signage and enforcement, and providing for periodic review and adjustment. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Engineering Committee, Ms. Dunn.
I have nothing to report tonight, President Shoemaker.
Thank you. Finance and Technology Committee, Mr. Creed.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. We have nothing on the agenda tonight. We did have 3 items we talked about in the committee meeting just before this. 25-071 is establishing the 2026 operating budget. There were still a few questions out that we had on that. So we have scheduled another committee meeting next Monday, the 15th at 4 o'clock. And I will do a public announcement of that via email. 25-088. And this was adoption of the street levy resolution for the ballot. And we were going to move that forward for legislation. It was an item that we had talked about earlier this year that had passed but did not make it to the ballot. We have also asked for a review session December 22nd at 6 p.m. So that any new members will be able to get additional information to make sure that they're up to date on what we're doing, and also to update current council members as far as any new information that we did not have earlier this year. Third item was 25-090, and that was a request for legislation to appropriate funds for the remainder of 2025, and this was $30,000 for Parks and Rec and $150,000 for fire pension, and we voted to move that forward for legislation as well. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Human Resources Committee, Ms. Payne.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. We do not have an item on the agenda tonight. However, December 1st, we did have a committee meeting on assignment 25-086, which is establishing the salary range for the city arborist position and appropriations for the salary expenses for 2025. We did forward that to the law director's office, so we will expect that on our next agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Parks and Rec Committee, Mr. Barnes.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. We have nothing on the agenda and nothing new to report. Thanks.
Thank you. Safety Service Committee, Ms. Preston.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. Safety Services has 2 items on the agenda this evening. The first one is a third reading of an ordinance appropriating $59,726.76 for the installation of speed humps and signage at various locations throughout the city of Chiillicothe. And the third, item number 3, or the second one is item number 3, a second reading of a resolution authorizing the Chiillicothe Fire Department to apply for a safe haven baby box at Chiillicothe Fire Station number 1, affirming the city's support for the project, providing that all acquisitions and installation costs should be funded through private donations from community organizations and individuals. I had also sent over a request for fire inspection fees, and I do not see that on the agenda. So I would assume that'll be on the next agenda when that comes up. We had that meeting at the last council meeting and the request was sent over. So that should be on the next agenda. And I would also like to take a moment to recognize the unfortunate passing of Wayne McLaughlin. I worked with him a long time ago when he first came to the city as the HR director. He was a very kind man and very generous, and I always appreciated his knowledge, and I am very sorry to hear of his passing. Thank you.
I'll second what you just said, and he always had a good hymn to sing for anybody that wanted to listen. We will miss him very much. Thank you. Utilities Committee, Mr. McKeever.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. Utilities has 1 item on the agenda. It's going to be the first read, item number 6, with an ordinance to amending ordinance 64-25, which is repealing all prior versions of section 915.08 of the codified ordinances of the city of Chiillicothe, part 9, title 3, public utilities, and enacting a new section of 915.08 to clarify and update water rate provisions. I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda to also include adding emergency language to this to the agenda. And at the appropriate time, I'm going to make a request for waived 3-read rule for this as well. That concludes my report.
I'm gonna go ahead and accept your motion right now. Is there a second to that motion? Mr. Creed seconds, and the clerk will call the roll.
Bennett,
Yes.
Payne,
Yes.
McCourt,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
McKeever,
Yes.
Dement,
Yes.
Preston,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
Emergency language will be added, and then we'll address it at the appropriate time, the actual ordinance. So thank you very much for the report. Next, we'll have City Services Committee, Mr. McQuirk.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. I have nothing on the agenda, nothing to report. Thank you.
Thank you. Community Affairs Committee, Ms. Bennett.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. I'd like to just start off how nice our parks looked with the Shine On Committee. Those women have worked really hard and lots of positive things I've seen in social media. I'm going to ask Greg McKeever if he would speak. He's been attending meetings, and by the rules, only one of us on our committee, and it's Greg, Julie, and myself. So Greg's already made a commitment. And would you mind sharing what's been going on with community action and all those places?
Yes, thank you very much. This is in regards to assignment 2541, which is a 5-year plan for addressing homelessness and housing in our community. I've had meetings with Julie Boland. I've also attended several meetings at the Ross County Care Continuum, and also met with Captain Short of the police department, getting updates of the after the passage of the anti-camping ordinance, to see how many contacts that they've had, and to date, they've issued no citations, but they've had several contacts and referrals, which I believe is what the entire program and ordinance was kind of geared toward and intended to do. So a very positive meeting with both Captain Short. Looking forward to continue working with him and the Chiillicothe Police Department, Chief Meyer as well, and Ross County Care Continuum and Julie Boland. They're going to have another meeting in January where there's going to be some additional announcements made to help the homeless community in our areas. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Mr. Creed?
President Shoemaker, I apologize. I do have one item on the agenda. Item number 5, and it's an ordinance amending ordinance number 124-15 in the various sections of Chapter 163 of the Codified Ordinances, Chiillicothe, to reflect the expiration of the 0.2% street construction levy and declaring an emergency. And at the appropriate time, I'll ask to waive the 3-read rules as well. Thank you.
Thank you. That completes all of the committee reports, although I will comment on what Mr. McKeever was talking about, because this is the time of year where our friends and neighbors that are without shelter really do need our help, and so we need to be sure that we try to make sure that we take care of folks that need assistance. With that, I will move on to reports of officials. There's no one from the mayor's office to speak on a specific issue here. And we already had a review from the auditor, but I know we have a representative from the auditor's office. Is there anything additional?
Thank you, President Shoemaker. Nothing additional. However, you will be able to find tonight's review meeting on chillicothe.oh.gov. Just the presentation available is right now under the department tab under auditor. So that is available for the public. And as soon as we complete the budget process, we will upload the budget and the capital exhibit that council will pass later this month. So thank you to the Finance Committee and council as a whole for attending the review session.
Thank you. Next, we have a representative from the Law Director's office.
Just to put it out there, my name's Andy Anastasi. I'm the full-time assistant law director. And as far as what's going on with us, Jessica McDonald has started with us. Attorney Jessica McDonald, she's already doing a terrific job. I've worked with her for a few years. I think she's going to do a terrific job for the city. Otherwise, I've had some meetings recently with all 3 law enforcement agencies, just talking about efficient discovery, even faster communications, making sure there's always seamless communication set up with me. They have my contact information. I said, call me anytime if I can help. So I think we're really doing some good things going into 26. Otherwise, there's nothing much else to report. Thank you.
Appreciate you report and appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Next, we'll move to audience participation. Any person wishing to address the council must first provide his or her name and address. Comments shall be limited to 5 minutes, and I'll give you a warning when there is 1 minute remaining.
My name's Tana Sidrus. I live at 415 Lundbeck Road. And I'm also off my meds. Is that all you needed first?
That may have been more information than we needed, but feel free to go ahead.
I can't remember. Okay. I have gotten to know a lot of you guys over the past year. I have anxiety. I didn't quite want to be here today because I dread confrontation. I want to keep this as respectful as I can because I have gotten to know you guys really well with Coffee and Council. First of all, I apologize that I have not been as active recently, I have committed myself to school, which I've enrolled in, and work that I have applied and committed myself to do. And I hate to be like this, but I am really disappointed that the meeting had to get rescheduled this week. There were several people on the live stream that came and wanted to speak, and they were not able to come back because it got rescheduled very last minute. I think that your jobs as city officials here is very important. And I don't mean this from any political angle. I have developed a lot of respect for you guys over the past year, especially with Coffee and Council and getting to know you guys very well. However, when you campaign, get elected, and swear an oath to prioritize Chiillicothe, I would really hope that in the future, whether you want to call it a campaign, a party, a gala, a fundraiser, I would really, really hope that in the future you guys would prioritize that. My college and my work over the past year and a half, I have missed out on a lot of things that I've wanted to do. Because if I don't show up to an exam because I want to go somewhere to do something else, I fail. If I don't show up to work because there's someone big and important that I want to meet that, you know, could be a celebrity or politician, if I don't show up to work, I get fired. And I really, really think that the city council position is probably should be held to a higher standard than a fast food job, you know? I know a lot of people were pretty disappointed. I know several people that could not make it tonight. And on the website, it has the days, times, and locations of where these meetings are held. That's like me opening a store and saying I'm open on Monday from 9 to 5, and then people come in really, really wanting to purchase or participate in whatever my business has to offer, and they show up at 9 and my doors are closed. So I mean this as chill as possible. I really do think, though, and hope in the future that you would prioritize Chiillicothe, you know?
Ms. Cydrus, I'd like to respond to your comments there. About a month ago, I notified the council president that I would not be able to attend the council meeting on December 8th due to another event I was scheduled to attend. At that point, we checked with other council members to find that 5 other Republican members would not be available due to scheduled attendance at a political event where one of our frontrunners for governor was scheduled to attend and speak. All of us felt this was an important opportunity for our local leaders to interact with leaders within our state legislature and potentially our next governor. At this time, I requested that council president consider rescheduling the meeting. Prior to the meeting on November 24th, we discussed alternative dates and times for the December 8th meeting with all members of council. It was determined that everyone would be available on December 10th at 5 p.m. I even offered to make a motion to move the meeting, but the council president declined this offer and said he would take care of it. The council president sent out a notice on December 4th regarding the lack of a quorum and that the meeting would be scheduled as stated earlier. I also, on November 18th, I forwarded an email to the council president from March 28th of 2024 regarding rescheduling the meeting of April 8th of that year. In that email, I stated I would hate for people to show up expecting a meeting only to find out that we wouldn't have a quorum. In this situation last year, I notified the council president about a month before that I would not be able to attend the meeting on April 8th due to being out of town for the solar eclipse. We discussed with other council members to see if any others would be in attendance. If I recall correctly, there were 5 to 6 members who would not be available, 4 Republicans and 1 to 2 Democrats. The city administration even closed the city building for half a day to allow employees to witness this spectacular event. On March 28th, about a week and a half prior to the council meeting, the council president sent out an email rescheduling the April 8th meeting to April 10th. In this instance, no one showed up at council chambers for a meeting where we knew there would not be a quorum because the meeting had already been rescheduled in advance. So what's the same and different in these two situations? Both were situations where we knew in advance that we would not have a quorum. One was a natural weather phenomenon, while the other was a dinner with an opportunity to interact with current potential future leaders of our state. One involved members of both parties not being available and was rescheduled in advance. One involved members from only one party and was not rescheduled in advance. I know all of us have different opinions about rescheduling these meetings, but these are the facts relative to these instances. I will leave it to each of you to come to your own conclusions. And I will tell you there were other meetings throughout the county, township meetings that were also rescheduled, just like we had asked for ours to be done. I'm sorry that some people showed up to the meeting expecting a quorum, but myself and others did everything in our power to ensure notification was made. I believe that we have a strong group of council members who worked well together in the best interest of the city of Chiillicothe. It saddens me that this issue has become a polarizing issue which seeks to divide our council and our community when we need to continue to work together for Chiillicothe and our surrounding community. To help alleviate this situation in the future, I'm officially asking for a committee assignment to review our council rules and determine if there is a better way to deal with similar situations in the future so we don't waste people's time coming to the meetings when we know that there will not be a quorum. Thank you.
Just so I clarify the facts. I did come when the eclipse was taking place. I did have opened the council meeting and we did move it. So Councilman Creed, I have the greatest respect for you, but I did it the same way this time as I did it last time. We did let people know ahead of time. I sent out the notice so that they knew ahead of time that there would likely not be a quorum. So the fact that people showed up was not because there wasn't notice. Notice was sent out like it's sent out on everything that we do. So once again, I appreciate your comments, but like I say, factually, on the day of the eclipse, as I recall, you asked me to declare a weather emergency. As I told you, I couldn't because I didn't believe that to be a weather emergency. So what I did was I came here, I opened the meeting, and once again said we don't have a quorum, and we moved it to a time that was agreed upon, same as this time. Okay, so I just want to make that clear because there wasn't any effort to do anything different than I did the first time. So just so we're clear on the facts. But I appreciate your comments.
May I say one more thing?
Sure.
Okay. Just like I said, over the past year with Coffee with Council, I've gotten to know you guys really well, and I hope you know I try my best to not be polarizing. And I do greatly appreciate the open line of communication. And I do agree that in the future, I think you guys should plan ahead a way of establishing when to reschedule. But once again, thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you. You weren't being polarizing, but there have been other polarizing comments throughout the community. And I hate that. I hate that this has become an issue that is trying to divide our council and to try to divide our community because we're all working to one common goal. Thank you.
Heard that.
I don't really think it's a polarizing issue. It's not a Republican versus Democrat thing. This is a integrity issue. You guys didn't show up for a meeting. That's just, you guys decided to go to a party. And you can sit there and say whether or not I would defend Democrats, I definitely wouldn't. And that's my party. So it's not polarizing.
Mr. Barnes, you have failed to show up to 2 or 3 development meetings that I've had so far.
I was not told about the last one.
Let me just say this. This is public comment, and anyone who wants to address any further comments can go to the podium and address it as a public member rather than have a debate, because we're not debating here. And like I say, I think it was tried to be handled the same way. I think it's worked out. It's over. And I think we need to all move forward. But once again, I don't think we need to have a debate at this point in time. But I appreciate your comments, and we'll move on to anyone else in the public that would like to make a comment. Hearing no further comments from the public, we'll move on to old business. Is there any old business to come before council? Hearing none, are there any petitions or correspondence to come before council?
Yes, President Shoemaker, I have a liquor license approval. Just a moment.
Hot off the presses, apparently.
Just got it. Okay, it is Ohio Springs Incorporated, 1525 North Bridge Street, doing business as Sheets 928. It's changing from the municipal area of Columbus to the municipal area of Chiillicothe. That's what this is for. It's a transfer. If anyone has any objection, you can let me know now. If not, I will go ahead and sign this and get it sent off to the Department of Commerce.
Just for purposes of information, that was a committee assignment that came before council and got approved for signature to go forward. But if there are any objections, people can go ahead and register those.
Yep, this is just a transfer. It's the same liquor license. It's just from Columbus to Chiillicothe.
Next, we'll move on to reading ordinances and resolutions. I'd ask the clerk to read the ordinance.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. This evening we have 6 items on our agenda. Item number 1 is the third reading of an ordinance appropriating $59,726.76 for the installation of speed humps and signage at various locations throughout the city of Chiillicothe.
And the clerk will call the roll.
Bennett.
Yes.
Payne.
Yes.
McCourt.
Yes.
Barnes.
Yes.
McKeever.
Yes.
Dement.
Yes.
Preston.
Yes.
Dunn.
No.
Creed.
Yes.
The ordinance is approved. The next ordinance.
Item number 2 is the second reading of an ordinance amending section 353.02 of the codified ordinances of the city of Chiillicothe, Ohio regarding metered and unmetered parking zones, municipal parking lots, enforcement hours, installation of meters, and allocation of parking spaces for law enforcement with implementation contingent upon budget availability.
The ordinance will move to the next agenda, the next resolution.
Item number 3 is the second reading of a resolution authorizing the Chiillicothe Fire Department to apply for a safe haven baby box at Chiillicothe Fire Station number 1, affirming the city's support for the project, providing that all acquisition and installation costs shall be funded through private donations from community organizations and individuals.
The resolution will move to the next agenda, next ordinance.
Item number 4 is the first reading of an ordinance establishing a maximum of 14 10-minute parking spaces in downtown Chiillicothe, authorizing signage and enforcement, and providing for periodic review and adjustment.
The ordinance will move to the next agenda, the next ordinance.
Item number 5 is the first reading of an ordinance amending ordinance number 124-15 and various sections of Chapter 163 of the codified ordinances of the city of Chiillicothe to reflect the expiration of the 0.2% street construction levy and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Creed,
President Shoemaker, I'd like to make a motion to waive the 3-read rule, please.
seconded by Ms. Preston. The clerk will call the roll relative to the waiver of the 3-read rule.
Bennett.
Yes.
Payne.
Yes.
McCourt.
Yes.
Barnes.
Yes.
McKeever.
Yes.
Dement.
Yes.
Preston.
Yes.
Dunn.
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
The 3-read rule is waived. The clerk will now call the roll relative to the ordinance.
Bennett.
Yes.
Payne.
Yes.
McCourt.
Yes.
Barnes.
Yes.
McKeever.
Yes.
Dement.
Yes.
Preston.
Yes.
Dunn.
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
Ordinance is adopted. The next ordinance.
Item number 6 is the first reading of an ordinance amending ordinance 64-25, repealing all prior versions of section 915.08 of the codified ordinances of the city of Chiillicothe, part 9, title 3, public utilities, and enacting a new section 915.08 to clarify and update water rate provisions and declaring an emergency.
President Shoemaker, I'd like to make a
Mr. McKee.
motion this time. I'd like to make a motion to waive the 3-read rule, please.
Second by Mr. Dement. The clerk will call the roll relative to the waiver of the 3-read rule.
Bennett.
Yes.
Payne.
Yes.
McCourt.
Yes.
Barnes.
Yes.
McKeever.
Yes.
Dement.
Yes.
Preston.
Yes.
Dunn.
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
3-read rule is waived. Clerk will call the roll relative to the ordinance.
Bennett.
Yes.
Payne.
Yes.
McCourt.
Yes.
Barnes.
Yes.
McKeever.
Yes.
Dement.
Yes.
Preston.
Yes.
Dunn.
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
Ordinance is adopted. Is there any other business to come before council? If not, I would accept a motion to adjourn. Okay. Mr. McQuirt and a second by Ms. Bennett. And the clerk will call the roll.
Bennett,
Yes.
Payne,
Yes.
McQuirt,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
McKeever,
Yes.
Dement,
Yes.
Preston,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
We are adjourned. Thank you so much.